Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for coming in. Has the reality of your appointment, historic as it is, finally sunk in?
Yeah, it is. I was appointed late last year, and good afternoon to your listeners. When you get on the job, you have to run as if you started last year. So the situation is that I've been able to meet all of our 9 faculties, including Gibbs, here in Johannesburg. I'm meeting a range of staff and students, professors, and my support divisions. It's a very fine institution, very fine infrastructure, and over 65% of our students are black.
I mentioned in the introduction to our conversation that one of the things that are at the top of your agenda is institutional transformation. Your appointment, again, it cannot be stressed enough, is historic, and that comes with a lot of pressure. What are your anxieties going into the job?
No, my anxieties are not that much, actually, because the fine thing about it is, I just mentioned in my last comment, is that the institution is already on a very a good transformative front. 65% of the students being black, all of the students, 55,000 of them. 55% of all students being women. So we're doing very fine there, and we're going to maintain the momentum, sustain the momentum. Where we have where the transformation has been slower is in academic stuff, but we've put in a raft of programs that will take that transformation going forward as well to mirror the student diversity.
But the tricky thing with transformation is that, yes, the numbers are great, but you need to go much deeper than having perhaps a majority black student community, black staff community, but you need to do more.
Absolutely, and this is what we're doing more of, the quality of the programs. We don't compromise on that. And our quality is so good that 93% of our students, 6 months after graduation, are either in employment or doing postgraduate studies. We want to close the gap. The 7% must be accounted for. So we're running a program called The Finish Line is Yours, Fly at UP. This is where the students enter into a compact with the university. They'll do the best they can, we'll give them the best lectures we can, and we'll put online support mechanism, including using artificial intelligence to support people in their learning processes. So you're quite right about that, so quality of programs. We're also doing, transformation is also about transforming the research that you do. As you know, yesterday we launched the Future Africa Institute and campus. Future Africa Institute and campus is as large, if not bigger, than Gibbs. Accommodation for researchers and emerging researchers from all over the continent, including South Africa. We're producing the next generation of academics who are actually diverse. But more importantly, we're going to do that research that deals with the challenges that face South Africa and Africa, which is poverty, unemployment, inequality, climate change, the loss of biodiversity, all of those complex problems, smart transportation systems and all of that. Because you're quite right. You can't just have majority black people, but the country does not go anywhere, and the continent does not go anywhere. So already, as you know, 2-3 weeks ago, we made a breakthrough at University of Pretoria with the 3D technology that can make a person hear. Last year, our professors created an artificial insemination system which can reproduce a wildlife, healthy calves from a lioness. We embarking on all of those major research projects to the extent that we are the national hub for the Sustainable Development Goals. And 2, my last point on this one, is that we're also the National Center of Excellence for Food Security, Forestry, and Biotechnology. All of those things will result in South Africa and Africa being able to feed themselves. And that is real transformation that transforms people's lives, transforms a continent, gets a healthy, well-nourished society.
At the very basic level of access to higher education, I know one of the things you've spoken about is about getting as many young South Africans into institutions of higher learning as possible. The University of Pretoria is saying that the plan is to go from admissions of 55,000 students a year to about 75,000 by the year 2025. But how do you do that when we're already seeing this year, for example, protests over accommodation at our universities? Government is also saying for things such as NSFAS, the purse strings are being tightened. There isn't enough money to do all of this. The universities themselves are saying they don't have an endless supply of money. So how are you going to get around that?
No, I think important and critical question. For a start, our growth plan is not outside a national context. Remember that the enrollments of each university are a signed agreement with the Department of Higher Education and Technology. So our growth to 75,000% is catered for under the current financing model. It is true that not all students at the University of Pretoria particularly are NEFSA students. So we have to make a plan about those students. So one of my major goals as Vice-Chancellor, and we've started on that campaign already, is to raise more and additional funding for missing middle students, those who are not covered by NEFSAs and have to pay for themselves. The way we're going to do this is to get our donors, our alumni, the philanthropists and wealthy people to donate money so that if you come and you are not covered by NEFSAs, but your parents can only pay 30,000, but that degree is 50,000, we want to be able to give you that 20,000 as a bursary. Because it's very, very important. If you see, we can't be caught in a dynamic that goes like this. We don't have the money to educate more people, so we won't educate them. But without the educated people, you can't grow the economy and expand and have the money to pay for more people. So we've got to be very innovative and unique in that regard. And this is not new, by the way. Those top universities in the United States, Harvard, Yale, and all of those, that is the model they use. They simply say, you're good enough to get in here. Show me how much you can pay. The balance, let's raise it together.
But there's another thorny issue at the University of Pretoria because it's among the institutions in this country where in the last few years we've seen anger at what people claim is an erasure of the Afrikaans language and culture that comes with it, because historically it was used predominantly at these universities. How are you going to walk that line?
Yeah, I think I said there needs to be facts about this. That arose from a tweet by a certain cabinet minister. The truth of the matter is that when the University of Pretoria surveyed its students in 2016, only 18% preferred to be taught in Afrikaans. We haven't done the latest survey, but we found the following. In those classes where we try and offer classes in Afrikaans, there are no attendees. People want to go to the English classes. There's also another historical and fact that is being told, that University of Pretoria was always an Afrikaans university. That is not true. It started off as a bilingual university. It became Afrikaans. Now it is English. The language policies of this country and this society are developing. We don't know tomorrow what it will be, but it has always changed in relation to the actual dynamics on the ground. On campus itself, there is no such anger. There is anger perhaps by some people who studied there when it was only Afrikaans. But if you went to the people who were there when it started, when it was English and Afrikaans, they would not be talking that story. So the language dynamic, of course, is part of the institutional transformation we need to do. And our key goal there is diversity and the best that can bring the best out of the people. If in future, for example, it's better to use 2 African languages and English, that is what we will do.
Beyond the language issue, one of the things that have been said by student activists who've been calling for the decolonization of education in this country is that the very structure at our institutions of higher learning is anti-black. Can black academics such as yourselves be trusted once in those positions of power to push that agenda and do so truthfully and make sure that they do become safe spaces for black people who for years have felt that really the system is not designed for them to flourish?
Yes, I don't think that is actually just a matter of black. It's actually a matter of how you understand knowledge. And that, just to assure you, is the University of Pretoria has a large program and strategy for what we call curriculum transformation. It's ongoing as we speak. And there are even distinguished lectures. One was held in early March. It's there online by a gentleman called Professor Torres. So there's an active program of transforming the curriculum to include forms of black knowledge and knowledge from other parts of the world, and also knowledge from people whose voices have not been heard. You see, curriculum transformation is not a black race issue. It's about those people who are excluded and marginalized. They might be gay, they might be working class, they might be women of all colors and all genders. The representation of people with disabilities. We're doing all of that.
Surely you would admit then that as a black Vice-Chancellor, you do face, though,
No, it's not about being a black Vice-Chancellor. It's not a racial issue at all. Any Vice-Chancellor, including, and you can check on the web, the Oxford Vice-Chancellor was white. They face curriculum transformation issues. They face complaints from the British public that you're marginalizing working class voices, voices from the rural areas and so on. Knowledge is not about race. It is about how to understand humanity in its totality. And so I come from a background where, as a young student, I was interested in curriculum transformation. And it was about I want to learn African literature. I want to learn Russian literature and translation, Latin American literature. I want to learn about white American and African American writers. So it's not a racialized issue as such. And also, just on that point, women, white people,
we are out of time.
There are women and white people and white academics who also want the curriculum decolonized, because they believe knowledge is broader than any one race.
Professor Tawana Kupe, thank you for your time. I've no doubt we'll be speaking to you every once in a while. Thank you today.